Hey guys, I'm George, the nice merry gentleman, and it's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content. In today's video, I'm going to talk about affordable fragrances that smell niche. And for today, I've prepared a list of 12 of them. I'm going to start this video off with a couple of suggestions of brands that are represented by a single fragrance in today's video. And the first one comes from the brand of Swiss Arabian, part of the Shagaf line, and this one is called Shagaf Oud Azraq. I have not talked about this fragrance in a while, but I really like this one. This is a very interesting scent. In a way, this smells a lot similar to Honey Oud from the brand of Montal, but at the same time it feels a little bit different. Basically, you're getting a very sweet scent that relies on a few sweet notes like amber, vanilla, and also a honey note that is quite prominent, especially in the opening. At the same time, you get some spiciness from a cinnamon note, and you also get a lot of leather and some agar oud. But don't be afraid, the agar oud doesn't feel skanky or animalic or anything like that. The leather is not overdone. This is a very impressive fragrance. It's not the cheapest one in the world, but definitely is more on the affordable side. And given that this has quite a unique and niche scent profile, in my personal opinion, this also has absolutely fantastic performance. So if you like those notes, if you like the note of agar oud, if you like the note of leather, the note of honey, if that mix sounds interesting to you, definitely give a go of Shagaf Oud Azraq. Again, I think it has really nice quality, very unique and niche scent profile, and absolutely fantastic performance. The other sort of a one-off or single fragrance that represents a company will be from the brand of Gulf Orchid, and this one is called Yacht Club. And I just recently talked about this fragrance. This one smells a lot like 40 Nuts from Xerjoff. Now, I've not tried any other clones of 40 Nuts, and I'm not aware of any other Middle Eastern clones of 40 Nuts. So I was really interested and curious to try out Yacht Club, and I was quite impressed with this fragrance. Now, this is not a one-to-one clone. This feels a little bit different to my nose. This feels a little bit more floral, slightly sharper. In the opening there, maybe will be picking up a bit of an alcohol blast, but give it a few minutes and this actually gets surprisingly closer to 40 Nuts. The original fragrance is a very interesting scent that's super versatile. It's very woody. It has ambery sweetness in it. It has a bit of a freshness, and Yacht Club, especially on the dry down, replicates the original quite nicely. Performance is pretty good with this one. Projection is also nice, and the best thing out of all is that it's very affordable. I personally paid around about 35 euros to get this one, which is pretty much a fraction of the price of the original scent. So if you like 40 Nuts from Xerjoff but you don't want to spend that amount of money, you can definitely check out Yacht Club from Gulf Orchid. Next, let's go with a few offerings from the brand of Paris Corner. The first one is a clone of Vanilla Royale Sugared Patchouli from the brand of Kayali, and it's called December Vanilla. And this is a vanilla-based fragrance, but it's not your typical vanilla fragrance. This one has a strong vanilla note, but it also has a creme brulee note, it also has a rum note, a nice amount of balanced booziness in the opening. It has leather, it has a strong floral touch, it has some agar oud in it, it's musky, there's a bit of a earthy patchouli on the dry down. It's a very complex scent that again, when you hear the name December Vanilla, you may end up thinking that this will be more on the simplistic side, something pretty sweet and nothing more than that, but this actually is a very interesting scent. To my nose, feels a little bit feminine, but I still think that this qualifies for being an unisex fragrance, and it's a very interesting scent. It's a dark, slightly boozy, spicy, floral, leathery vanilla fragrance, if I can sum it up like that. After this needed some maceration in order to reach its full potential and to become quite strong, but after a few months this really became a nice fragrance, and nowadays this projects and performs really nicely. The second fragrance from the brand of Paris Corner that I've included in today's video is part of the Nordstock line, and it's called Hypnotic Oud Queens, and this one is supposedly a clone of Meydan's Spirit of Dubai. I've never tried the original fragrance, but I can definitely tell you that Hypnotic Oud Queens smells niche. It's very woody. There's a strong agar oud note with this fragrance. You get a strong leather note. There's some ashy tobacco as well, a hint of ambery sweetness on the dry down. It's a very masculine, very rugged scent that I really enjoy a lot. Initially, when I first got this one, I had my doubts a little bit whether I'm going to like it and how good it will perform. But just like December Vanilla, this needed a few months, and now it's a real beast when it comes to performance. Lasts for a very, very long time. Also projects really nicely, and it's a very nice, sophisticated, dark, masculine scent. If you like fragrances that have a lot of leather, that have tobacco, that have an agar oud note, which again doesn't feel skanky or animalic, and fragrances that don't have much sweetness in them, definitely check out Hypnotic Oud Queens from Paris Corner. I forgot to mention one more fragrance that represents a single brand. It comes from the brand of Fragrance World, and it's called Oud Madness. And this fragrance smells a lot like Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja or Oud Maracuya, depending on where you live in the world. And this is a very interesting sort of a take. This is not a straight up clone. In fact, it doesn't feel super close to the original fragrance, although still it's one of the closest clones that I've tried so far in my fragrance journey compared to the original scent. This is like a more fruity and a more boozy take on the original scent, with slightly toned down leather note, slightly toned down florals, slightly toned down agar oud note. This is basically made to be a little bit more mass appealing compared to the original scent. I personally really like Oud Maracuja, but I know that a lot of people, for a lot of people, it's a bit too much when it comes to the mix of agar oud, leather, and that passion fruit sweetness. But in here, Fragrance World have softened up the whole scent profile, and they've added a nice amount of booziness. It's actually a very, very nice, very likable take. I didn't have high expectations when I first got this, but this was one of the most pleasant surprises so far this year when it comes to fragrances and expectations. Also, performs really nicely on my skin, definitely lasts for a very long time, and projects really nicely, and all that for a fraction of the price of the original scent. The next couple of fragrances that I'm going to show in today's video come from the brand of Latafa. The first one is a relatively new release that's called Mashrabia or Mashrabia. I'm not too sure exactly how to pronounce the name of this fragrance. This is a clone of Kilian's Smoking Hot, and it's actually done quite nicely. Now keep in mind that this fragrance, this particular bottle, needed a bit of time, just like some of the other scents that I've already talked about, before it reached its full potential. Initially, you know, it was a bit rough, and all I was getting was quite a strong incense note, but after some maceration and sitting around, this actually started to perform nicely, to settle a little bit better on skin, and smell definitely better. If you're not familiar with the original fragrance from Kilian, this is a very sort of an oriental scent, very Middle Eastern scent. I think there's an apple shisha note that's listed with this fragrance, and this definitely smells like having something like that. There's a bit of spiciness, there's a lot of incense, there's tobacco, there's some cinnamon, and there's a bit of vanillic and caramel sweetness on the dry down. It's a very, very interesting scent that probably it's not up to the liking of everybody because of how unique it feels, but definitely feels like smelling like a niche scent, and definitely performs like you know, a champion, especially after some maceration. After some maceration, they started to last for a really long time and project quite nicely. And it costs around about, I don't know, like a quarter of the price of the original fragrance from Kilian's. The second Latafa fragrance that I've included in today's video is probably one of my most favorite current Latafa scents, if not the most favorite. It's called Teriyaki Intense, and this one is a creation of Quentin Bish, and I can definitely appreciate what he did with this fragrance. Now, when you smell this one, and if you are familiar with fragrances like Angel Share from Kilian again, or you know, things like Latafa Hamra Hawa, and all the other clones of Sava from Giza and Angel Share, this scent profile will smell similar to you, but this is by no means a clone of either the Hamras or the Savas, or you know, of Angel Share. This has a similar vibes, but at the same time smells, has its own scent. And I really like this one. This is not as sweet as the Hamra, for example. It's not as boozy as Angel Share. This is somewhere in between. It has quite a bit of sweetness, but not overly sweet. It has a bit of a booziness, but it's a different kind of booziness. I think there's a plum liquor note that's used in this fragrance. There's also definitely the note of plum, which adds some sort of a juicy sweetness to the scent. There's a bit of spiciness. On the dry down, you'll get a bit of earthiness from a patchouli note. There's a bit of cinnamon in here as well. This smells very nice. It smells very smooth and very classy. It's not your typical sweet scent. It has some depth to it, and I really like it. Perfectly unisex in my opinion. And the best thing out of all is that this is an absolute beast when it comes to performance as well. My next couple of suggestions both come from the brand of Ahmed Al Maghribi. The first one that I've included in today's video is called Blue Oud, and this is an interesting scent that feels fresh, a bit summery, but at the same time has some depth and some seriousness to it. Basically, this is a fragrance that is a leather-based fragrance that has quite a bit of sweetness and also has quite a bit of a freshness on top of the leather. It has a bit of a green touch as well, but to me, basically, the most important notes here are the leather note, which is the strongest note in this fragrance, the citrusy, the bergamot and other citruses that have been used in the opening in here, the ambery sweetness that this has, and a bit of also of musk. And also there's a hint of agar oud, as the name would suggest. It's not or overly animalic or too skanky or too challenging. It's a very interesting sort of a take on the summer oud theme of fragrance. Offers nice quality, pressurized sprayer, it's decently priced, and after some maceration this also performs quite nicely. Now it's not a beast, definitely, but it's above average for sure as well, and it's a very interesting fresh scent. The second Ahmed Al Maghribi fragrance that I've included in today's video is again one of those popular scents, which is called Ignite Oud, and a lot of people compare this fragrance to Oud Maracuja from Maison Crivelli, but to be honest, I don't find it that similar. This shares some of the notes of oud with Oud Maracuja, like the agar oud note, like the leather note, like a bit of that floral touch, the rose note. But this feels fresher, it feels greener, and it feels less sweet than Oud Maracuja. So if you find Oud Maracuja a little bit too dark, a little bit too sweet maybe, you want something done in a similar style, but fresher, greener, still though with a strong agar oud and leather notes, definitely give this one a try. It's an interesting scent, I like it a lot, and also offers really good quality and a very strong performance. And I'm going to finish off this video with 3 suggestions from the brand of French Avenue. The first one is a collaboration between a fellow YouTuber called Nib, or Aromatics as he's better known, and French Avenue, and it's called Carnal Desire. Now this is an interesting scent that since day one I've really liked a lot. It's a fragrance that may remind you of a few famous niche scents out there, while at the same time it does a bit of its own thing. Again, this is somewhat similar to Oud Maracuja because it shares some of those notes like the strong leather note, the agar oud, a bit of the florals, but this has a different type of sweetness. This doesn't rely so much on fruity sweetness as it does on ambery, vanillic sweetness, and also I think there's a candy note or something like that listed in the note breakdown, and definitely the sweetness in here feels a little bit different than Oud Maracuja. Also, the way that the leather and oud combination comes across with this fragrance is different compared to the one from Maison Crivelli. Quality is good of the scent itself, performance is good, and I only have 2 gripes with this fragrance. The first one has to do about quality control. The first batches, a lot of them had quality issues, leaking atomizers and whatnot, and in fact I own 2 bottles of this fragrance, and one of them has these problems. In fact, both have, but one of them is leaking quite seriously. And the second problem that I find with this fragrance is that a lot of people hype its performance. It's a strong fragrance, but definitely not as beastly as people claim. Still though, as a scent on its own, I really like it a lot. The next suggestion from French Avenue is one of my recent purchases. It's called Opus Magnum, and this one is a clone of Amouage rolled tobacco. Now, when I got this fragrance, since I have somewhat of a limited experience with rolled tobacco, but still I remember quite well the scent profile, I was quite skeptical that a cheaper fragrance, or cheaper fragrance, can replicate the original scent, well. But to be honest, I was pleasantly surprised by Opus Magnum. It's not a one-to-one clone compared to rolled tobacco. This is fresher, this is lighter, but still on its own, actually, this is a very dark and very heavy scent. And it's definitely not for the faint-hearted out there. Definitely, if you're looking for this fragrance, if you don't have experience with the original one, try to sample this one before you buy it, because this can be very, very challenging. It's dark, it's strong, it's heavy, and doesn't have much sweetness in it. It's definitely not a crowd pleaser. But I actually, like to wear challenging scents from time to time, and Opus Magnum actually turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Very good quality and also strong performance. And the last fragrance that I've included in today's video from French Avenue is called Moonstone Noir, and this is also somewhat of a recent purchase. And this fragrance is very, very interesting, and it was pretty much a love at first sniff for me. This has a very interesting combination of notes. It's woody, there's some agar oud in here, it feels also very smoky, it feels a little bit spicy. In a way, it has this sort of an, I don't know how to call it, like a strange metallic note or vibe in it. And also underneath all those notes sits a nice amount of vanillic sweetness. It's dark but not overly dark. It's smoky but not overly smoky. It's woody but not overly woody. A very, very interesting combination, and really like this one a lot. It's great for cold weather. Has a very nice quality. Performance is good when we talk about longevity, lasts for a very long time on skin, doesn't project super loudly, but maybe that's a good thing, because again, this is not like a super mass pleasing type of scent, but I personally like it a lot, and it definitely smells niche. And so guys, in today's video I showed you 12 affordable fragrances that smell niche. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.